I go to Tork's Facebook page. This is extremely shady marketing. What quarter mile time did I get? So now let's talk about what Eurocompulsion 0 to 60. In this video, I want to cover my most recent and only attempt at getting a quarter mile time with my Phase 3 124 Spider abarth. This is running the Eurocompulsion Phase 3 tune with, full bolt-ons and their 1446 plus turbo, still on 93 octane pump gas, as well as some quarter mile times that have recently been shared and brought to my attention, times that are shared by Eurocompulsion and Tork. Now, in my last video, a 124 Spider owner commented that Tork recently got a 13.7. I later went to go find it. It was a 13.76 to be exact. Second quarter mile time on Draggy, and that holds the #1 spot for the fastest 124 Spider on Draggy. The guy who made that comment actually had a Tork tune on his stuffed turbo 124 Spider and recently switched over to Eurocompulsion tune, and he did some tests back to back. He was doing a 4200, I think he did quarter mile on Draggy, and he actually got a much better time with Eurocompulsion tune. He also made the switch because after 4 months of paying for a tune revision, he heard nothing back from John or Tork or anyone over there. I'm not saying this to put Tork down, I'm just shedding light on truth and some facts here because there's a lot of misinformation being shared. You can go with Tork, you can go with Eurocompulsion, you can go with whoever. Me personally, I have a Eurocompulsion tune. I do sell their products on my website, but if you've seen my videos, you will know that I was just a normal customer in the beginning. I bought their tune full price as a regular customer. I just really enjoyed their products, the way my tune felt, the power, their service, everything, and then I eventually started putting their products on my site for sale as well. So back to this so-called 13-second fastest 124 Spider on Draggy. I got curious and I wanted to go check it out. So I go to Tork's Facebook page to see if they posted it, and sure enough, they did. Now the first thing that caught my eye was the bottom half of the time slip from Draggy was cut off. And that is what shows two very important pieces of information: your 60 foot and your trap speed. I was actually chatting with a friend and I said, I bet this car got a great 60 foot, which led to a good ET, but the trap speed was probably slow and that's why he probably cut off the bottom half of it. And spoiler alert, I was right, but there's a lot more to this than just that. So now I go on the Draggy app so I can see the full time slip. I want to see this new 13-second pass. I want to see the data. I want to see the information and everything. But I don't see no new time slips on there for the 124 Spider this month, last month, besides Eurocompulsion, who recently posted one afterwards. And then when I was looking at that half a time slip again on Tork's Facebook page, it hit me. I'm like, that looks very, very familiar. The reason why it looked familiar is because there's a huge dip in this slope. Basically, the person who did this went like downhill, back uphill, you know what I mean? So the average was still fairly flat, although, over 50% of the first run he's going whoop straight downhill after gaining a lot of speed, and he's going uphill. That caught my attention because I remember seeing this time slip and I was like, that's very noticeable in that time slip. So now his Facebook post said, let me introduce to you. When you say let me introduce to you, you're basically implying that this is new. Whatever it is that you're introducing, it's new to some degree. But this time slip was actually all the way back from March 2021, over a year ago. And it's not even from them. It sounded like it was from them. Maybe they didn't intend that, so it's totally fine. If it's got a Tork tune, he can post it saying a Tork tune ran it. I get that. But it sounded like it was new. It's not. It's over a year old. And one thing he again forgot to mention is that the person who got this time, and this is all on the 124 Spider forum, this is how I remember it because there was a huge thread about it, is the person who ran this ran some sort of chip box tune, some sort of box. I think chip box is actually like a brand, so I'm not going to say that, but it was a box tune, a variety of a box tune, some sort of box tune on top of his Tork tune, and that's how he got this 13.76. So he posted this in the forum, and he actually said, the person who ran this, I did the unthinkable, the not recommended thing to do. He said it worked beautifully, but after a while, he eventually took it off from recollection. I'll put some screenshots like of the forum posts in here and everything. People were telling him like, hey, this isn't safe. You shouldn't be running a box tune, which is messing with boost and other parameters, on top of your Tork tune, which is messing with all other parameters as well. You shouldn't be running these two on top of each other. That's how he got a 13.76. But what we really should be looking at is what did the car trap? Because your trap speed shows more about power. Someone can get a great ET like this guy, 13.76, because he got a good launch, good shifts, good technique. The guy's automatic, so there's really not a lot of technique there, shifting pretty quickly and everything. You don't got to worry about anything during shifts or whatever. So I looked, and his 60 foot was very impressive for a 124 Spider at below 2 seconds. It was like, I think it was 1.9 something. I'll put the full, times up on screen. And his trap was only 96 miles per hour. So go figure why he cut off the bottom, because this car, it's actually not quick at all. I would say it's on the slow side. When I was on my stock turbo, just with the Eurocompulsion tune, I was able to get a 14.53 at 97.75 miles per hour. You see 14.5 compared to 13.7, you think, my car's slow. But I trapped 97. From any other scenario besides a dig, besides a launching, my car would be pulling on this so-called top leaderboard, still when I was on my stock turbo, trapping 97. And I have another video which I'll post up here, a link if you guys haven't seen it yet. It's basically me and another YouTuber at an airstrip going side by side. We did roll races and we did launches for quarter mile. He's an automatic, very comparable to this scenario here. And what happened? Every launch, he beat me as far as the ET. He crossed the quarter mile quicker than me, but I crossed at a much higher mile per hour than him. And when we did roll races, I took him with ease. I just kept pulling and pulling and pulling on him. And when I did that 14.5 at 97.75 miles per hour, I was also doing that in 80-degree weather. It was very hot that day, very high DA. And this guy who got the 13.7 but only trapped 96, which is a number that we really should be putting a little more emphasis on besides just completely cutting it out on the post that Tork made, was in 39 degrees. Much cooler temps, much lower DA. So the point of this was just to shed some light on this. Personally, I think this is extremely shady marketing and just wildly deceiving, to not mention what the car trapped and that the customer had to run a box tune on top of a Tork tune just to accomplish this. Now, I know a lot of Tork fans and everything might go in the comments and start hating on this and everything. By all means, leave your comment, do whatever you gotta do. I'm not here to hate, I'm just here to share some facts, shed some light. I wouldn't want someone to go and see that 13.7 on the Tork page and think, oh my god, this guy creates super fast tunes, I'm gonna go with him, when he left out extremely valuable and important information about that pass. I wanted to just bring the truth out there so people can make an informed, wise decision. You could still go with Tork, fine by me. You know what I mean? I just want to shed some light and bring the truth out. That's it. Now, I said this before about the slope and how it was like very noticeable when I first saw this. It reminded me of another video, and I'm going to play a little snippet of it, where a scientist, some guy was doing a test showing how a marble would go down a slope, and they would start at the same exact spot and end at the same exact spot, but there would be a straight line for one going downhill, and the other one would have hills and little bumps in it, mimicking this guy's run where it went downhill and back uphill. My theory was he started going downhill, and for over 50% of that run, he was going downhill, gaining much more speed, and I thought that that hill going back up would have less of an impact. And it looks like that is true. So I'm going to play this, and you could take it for what it's worth. But that's the one thing about the Draggy. If you're not going lower than -1, it will count as valid. And that's good. If you're going too much downhill, it won't count. But it doesn't take into consideration if you're going massively downhill and then going back uphill, like in this guy's run, where the Draggy kind of says, oh, your average is 0.2 incline, even though you went a lot downhill and then back up for a little bit later. So watch this, and you can take it for what it's worth. And here in slow motion, you'll notice even upon that first initial dip and back up, it already is faster and moving at a quicker pace. Basically, that greater acceleration that it started with going downhill overcomes and exceeds that having to go back up. It has less of an impact at that point. It's already moving faster. So now let's move on. What quarter mile time did I get with my Phase 3 124 Spider? Like I said, I just did it the other night, and I must have a thing about botching my first attempts at everything. I remember when I did my first 0 to 60 on this channel a while back, and then I think I missed third or something. On my first attempt here, it didn't go into second. I missed second. That attempt also had a lot of wheel hop and spin and whatnot, so it was kind of fine. Now the second attempt, which is the only attempt I had, so one full attempt at the quarter mile, that was all I got. It was using the Draggy, It wasn't the quickest first to second shift because that first time it didn't really go in second, so I wanted to kind of take my time, make sure I went in properly. But I was still happy with the time that I got. So, you know what? I'll just put it on screen. I'm going to show you the GoPro view first, which is kind of like a POV view. And then I'll show you the Dragy video recorded through the Dragy app, which will have all the times right on screen. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. I'll put the time slip on screen and just kind of analyze the info. So there we go. We got a 13.95 at 102.19 miles per hour. Not too shabby. The goal was to crack into the 13s and trap over 100 miles per hour, and I was able to do that. I would have liked to see a lower ET, but my 60 foot wasn't the best at 2.23, but that 102 trap speed, like I said, that's pretty impressive. I like that. The trap speed shows more power, so the car is putting down a good amount of power. That's an impressive time. And the ET, 13.95, I'm just happy to get into the 13s. ET is more about launch and driver technique. And like I said, that first to second shift wasn't as fast as it could have been, and the launch wasn't as good as it could have been either. One thing I want to take note on is the 40 to 100 time during this quarter mile time. Now, for anyone who watches my in-depth performance, analyzing videos and everything, you probably know I love going into all these numbers. Take everything with a grain of salt, you know what I mean? Like, I just like sharing it, showing what potential things it may have, and also just kind of showing you that there are just a ton of variables out there. I'm not saying the car could have ran this. We'll see in the future what it could run. But my last 40 to 100, which was only a week ago, I got a 9.49. A few weeks before that, it was 9.74. So the best was 9.49, and I've been getting in the 9s very consistently. But during this run, this actual quarter mile run, my 40 to 100 was only a 10.05. It was not that good. So it was over a half a second slower 40 to 100 than just last week. So with a good 40 to 100, the car might have a 13.5 second pass in her, but again, it's just kind of showing there are a lot of variables. Maybe during launching, the car is not as quick 40 to 100 than when you're rolling into it. I don't know, that could be another variable. So hopefully in the future, I can get a legit 13.5. Hopefully on a drag strip. I'm going to try doing that. Bring the Dragy and do some comparisons back to back and just see how accurate the Dragy actually is. Other folks have done it and they've seen it as being very accurate, but why not? I like doing these tests myself anyway. Something else to notate is as I recently went to the bigger 550cc injectors, boost is holding much better in fourth gear. I have another video covering the in detail specifics. I'm not going to go too crazy, but in short, fourth gear used to drop to about 17 pounds of boost when I was maxing out the stock injectors, and now it usually stays around 21 to 22 psi upon a red line. Even in this video where I bounced off the rev limiter in fourth gear, it still held just over 20 psi. But I'm going to see if there's a way to try and hold more to redline. It would be nice to kind of see 23 to 24 to redline in every gear. I don't know if there's something that could be done. I just want to look into it a little bit more. The 1446 Plus Turbo, I think there's still more to be had with it, more power to be had. It's just how are we going to get there? I'll talk with Eurocompulsion and see what they think. I just want to get more power. I just love modifying the car and getting more. And as you keep modifying, you get used to it, and then you just want to get more power. Oh, and I almost forgot, 0 to 60. Might as well cover my 0 to 60 time in this. So my 0 to 60 time during this run, the only time launching successfully and doing a test with the Phase 3 Big Turbo, was a 5.87. Last time was on phase 1 and phase 2. I was in the 6s. I think it was anywhere between 6.2 to 6.4. I forget, maybe I'll throw some on screen, but it was always in the 6s. Low to mid 6s is what I got. So being able to crack into the 5s, that's awesome. 5.87, again, with a quicker first to second shift, I'm sure we could bring that down even more. The problem with this car is you need to shift into third to hit 60. So when you look at a 0 to 60 on this car, you really got to understand how you're comparing it when you compare it to other vehicles. If it's an automatic, well then that's just completely different. You know, like my Golf R was a DSG, that thing just shifted like a madman and launched amazingly. But a lot of other cars, they'll hit 60 in second gear. So just take that into consideration. This car does take another shift to go into 60, until you hit 60 miles per hour. So now let's talk about what Eurocompulsion got as far as a quarter mile goes with the Draggy. They actually do hold the #1 spot for the quickest 124 Spider, at least right now to my knowledge, on the Draggy app. Brandon at Eurocompulsion with their 124 Spider, again, it's pump gas, very similar modifications to mine, actually a bit less as far as exhaust mods go. He was able to get a 13.69 at 102.36 miles per hour. 102 miles per hour, same trap that I got in quarter mile, 13.69, it is better than 13.95, and his 60 foot also was better at 2.16. Mine was, what, 2.23? So that's a pretty damn good time. 13.69 at 102 and change, that's not too bad. And there's actually another time, and this is actually really, really impressive. The ET was 13.72, but the trap was 103.51. That was another time that he got on the road with the Draggy. And while I was putting this video together, Greg, one of the, I don't know his exact connection to Eurocompulsion. I'm just going to say Greg over at Eurocompulsion because I know he owns a 124 Spider, and that's the 124 Spider that they vigorously test all their parts on, do all their tests on, research and development and everything. He took his 124 Spider, the same one we're talking about here that Brandon got these Draggy times on, and he brought it to the drag strip. And he actually just made a video, so I wasn't even expecting to see those times when I was making this. I'll link to his video in the description. And but off the top of my head, because I literally just watched it last night, he was getting consistent. Like, I think he had like over 20 passes at the drag strip, and 16 of them trapped over 100 miles per hour from recollection. And his best time was like 13.8 and change. Multiple times he got 13.8. Again, kind of in line with all of these times. Driver mod is going to be huge when it comes to this. Someone might shift faster, someone might launch better. So, Brandon was getting 13.7 at 102, give or take, on the street, and the same car put down insane passes at the drag strip. When I say insane, I'm talking about like when you can do 20 passes and still drive home, that's pretty damn impressive. And that's what Greg did with the Eurocompulsion Phase 3 tuned car with the 1446 Plus turbo. Like I said, getting about, I think it was 13.8s consistently as the best, with even the ones where he didn't get that low, it was still trapping over 100 miles per hour. And trap speed really shows power when it comes to the car. So I think I covered everything that I want to cover in this video. It's definitely a more in-depth style video, just analyzing data, covering information and everything. If you guys enjoy this type of stuff, give it a like, comment below, let me know what you think. You can go to drivendistrict.com if you want to get some Eurocompulsion parts. We're an authorized dealer for them. We also carry the famous Ragazzon exhaust, which I love. A bunch of other stuff too, apparel, great way to support the channel. Subscribe if you're interested for more. I'm going to get my 124 Spider on the drag strip eventually, hopefully soon this year, to get some quarter mile passes, maybe get some better times, 0 to 60, all that stuff, and maybe some more testing on the street just because it's easier, in a safe manner with the Draggy and everything in a nice location. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.